to Week and Geek, your new comics preview for September 12th. I'm Mike Ortiz.
And I'm the Chris Brown.
What do you got?
This week I'm going to lead off with Manhattan Projects number 6. This is written by, of course, Jonathan Hickman. This is the alternate history book surrounding the Manhattan Project. You know, you've got Oppenheimer and von Braun and Einstein and all of this weirdness. You know, we ended the last story arc. They're preparing for some sort of invasion. The seeds are set in the past, and something's going to go on, presumably in the present, I guess. Really, really weird stuff. But this is starting our second arc, and looks like it has more of a Russian bend. It looks like some stuff with von Braun. You know, big covers, red, hammered sickle, and big Russian star on the cover there. So, yeah, I love this book. I'm having so much fun with it. And while I was really liking the book, issue 4 was a turning point for me where it was just, I was all in. And I feel like from that point on, it's just really been some great, fun, weird stuff. Love it. Really love that book.
Another good sci-fi book.
Yeah, absolutely. My next pick here is Chew number 28. This is part 3 of Space Cakes. Chew's a great book. Looks like we're getting into some weirdness. Everybody's an animal in this issue. Looks like it's going to be maybe a Poyo-centric. Yeah, I don't know. This is a great book. The end is in sight. You know, they've already sort of introduced elements to where they're trying to get. Good, fun book. Next up this is a book I'm really, really liking, is Hoax Hunters. This is issue number 3, written by Michael Morrissey and Steve Seeley. I really, really like the art. I like the art on the ongoing a lot better than I liked it in the backup feature for Hack Slash. Really fun, weird stuff. It's ramping up a bit into its larger story. I mean, at first it was, you know, it was putting its premise out there more than anything, which is, imagine if, you know, the Finding Bigfoots and shows like that were, you know, these creatures were real and they were not finding them on purpose. But there's something else going on. There's a much larger story, and I'm really liking the weird, you know, space-suited dude with the crows. It looks like we got almost like a question-looking dude in there, guy with no face. Great stuff. You should be reading Hoax Hunters. If you're not, go back and get it. It's getting a lot of critical acclaim, and it deserves it. Good. Then I've got American Vampire, Lord of Nightmares. This is part 4 of 5. Scott Snyder is just kicking this book's butt. He's great anyway. He really sets a mood with his horror stuff. And this is the book that he kind of started on, the creator-owned book over here at Vertigo. Really, really cool stuff. I dig it. I mean, this is, vampires frequently seem watered down as we cycle through our popularity of vampires. This is good vampire stuff. Then I've got He-Man and the Masters of the Universe number 2, written by James Robinson. And Keith Giffen gets credit on this one too. Must have come in to help James. Maybe that's why the book was late. I don't know. I didn't love the first issue. I didn't really know. It felt like it was a little slow and getting to its point. Like, I know He-Man, and this was one of those super decompressed, getting to the point kind of deals. But basically, like, a spell had been cast, and Adam didn't know he was He-Man anymore. And pretty cool, though. I really like James Robinson, and I like He-Man, and I really want to like a He-Man miniseries written by James Robinson. So I'm giving it a go. Punk Rock Jesus, number 3 of 6. This book is weird and awesome, and the second issue did not pick up on that thread from the first issue like I thought it would. It seems to almost be going more in the angle of the guy they have as their security, something they were telling more of his backup story. But I'm sure it'll come back around. I think the artwork here is fantastic. I do like that it's in black and white. I think it packs a pretty good punch. I think it was Sean Murphy's stuff is incredible. Yeah. And wow, the guy can write too. Yeah. Who knew? Really, I had no idea, but just phenomenal stuff. If you can find those early issues, the 1 and 2, you should pick them up. Yeah, it's really, a great book. Great book. Saucer Country, number 7, by Vertigo. This is written by Paul Cornell, art by Ryan Kelly. That last issue was almost a history of alien abduction and things of that nature. And I would almost have to look up and see how much of it was real. I almost feel like proof set the standard of, let's use some real cryptozoological myth, and let's make up our own stuff so that we can really tell our story. And I wonder if Saucer Country was doing some of that. But it was really, really cool. I really dug it. It very much kind of interrupted the flow so that they could set the stage for where they're going next. And I dug that. Good book. I'm really, really liking this Saucer Country. Then I've got The Shade, number 12,
this
At Last.
Great cover, too.
Yeah, it really is. Some awesome stuff. Yeah. At Last, The Origin of the Shade. This is the final issue here. And funny enough, while I was organizing and pulling everything this morning, they were running reruns of Collector Intervention on Sci-Fi. And there was an issue or an episode where a dude just couldn't part with all of his bronze and modern age stuff. Like, he had nothing. He ends up going to a comic book store where a guy actually trades him an Incredible Hulk 181 for a bunch of nothing, which I was shocked. I mean, the guy must have gotten compensation from the show. I don't know. Yeah. But he meets James Robinson. James Robinson gives him the script for the last issue as encouragement to try and get him to sell some of his nonsense. Cool. I don't think he ended up selling those Starmans as well.
He kept his Starmans.
He said he had to keep those. Those meant too much to him.
You know, just as an aside, I watched that episode, and at the end, after he parts with his stuff, he asked the guy, I think it's at Golden Apple Comics in California, to make sure that his Quasars get a good home. I think you can get a complete run of Quasar for $5, so it won't be that tough to replace it, dude.
No, seriously. Right? But when the guy was like, yep, give those a good home.
In the quarter bin.
I hope it was all with a bit of sarcasm, and I think it was. I hope.
I don't know. Those people are crazy.
Yeah, well, true enough. Then I'm looking at, this is sort of an odd one for me. I always have that odd one in my stack. This is Team 7, number 0. I don't know, lately I'm a little nostalgic for all that 90s nonsense. So when I see one of these Wildstorm books that I kind of like, ooh, Team 7? I'll try that. I really wanted to like the Grifter book and just didn't. So they're going to put him over here. I think what it is about Grifter that I like is his design. And I think that's kind of it.
It might be.
Cole Cash is pretty ridiculous as far as names go, and I don't know.
That's some Jim Lee looking art there, though.
It really is. Looks pretty good. Who's doing the art on that? We got Art Chores, Jesus Marino, or Jesus Marino, with Norm Rapman. And Rob Hunter. Everybody but your grandma drew on this. And doing good. I mean, your grandma would have tightened it up a little, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
She's got mad skills. But I want to give this a shot. This is an origin story for Team 7. This is going to be one of the replacement books that's going to launch out of the Zeros. So hopefully this book is better than, we got, early Deathstroke stuff. Hopefully this is better than that Grifter book was.
Hopefully.
Then I've got Exo Manowar number 5, Enter Ninjak. So they're finally introducing the Ninjak character. They've been running previews for this book, in the backup of all the other Valiant stuff. And they've planted little seeds, I think, for Ninjak already in something. Or actually, I think this is the preview they ran. I like this Exo Manowar book. I don't know that I loved Ninjak back in the day. It was all right when I was 16 because it was like a purple ninja. And there was something about that, drawn by Joe Quesada. And there was certainly something about that, circa 1993 that was awesome. But I don't know. I'm certainly more excited about the Exos and the Harbingers and the Archer and Armstrongs. And we got Shadow Man coming. But I'm curious to see what they're going to do here by introducing Ninjak into our world.
It looks pretty close to the original design, isn't it?
Yeah, not bad. So it should be fun. I just really like this Exo Manowar book. I think it is one of the stronger titles coming out of this Valiant. Although I finally read Archer and Armstrong from, I think that was last week, and man, that book's fun. It's as fun as the old book was. I dug it. All right, what do you got there?
Well, I'm going to continue a familiar refrain. You're going to hear this all month. I've got starting off with Green Lantern Corps issue 0. This is DC 0 month. This is going back, telling you the story of the new 52 that you didn't get when it started last September. This looks like it is going to be the origin of Guy Gardner, the lead character from this. So yeah, we know Guy Gardner has been around since the Silver Age, but we don't know with this current Guy Gardner what his actual story is, what has changed from before. So now we're going to find out. Looks like we got a young Guy Gardner with long hair. Wow.
Freaking hippie.
So how things have changed. But this is all this DC stuff is just going to be filling in some backstory of what this new 52 universe is like. Continuing that, we've got Batgirl number 0. I don't normally get Batgirl.
You're a sucker for Zeros.
I picked up the first issue. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't really my thing. But I'm really curious as to what the story of this Barbara Gordon is going to be. I was hoping it was going to get into her time as Oracle and the rehabilitation, and it looks like it actually goes all the way up to the Killing Joke. It actually ends where the killing, where her appearance in the Killing Joke is. So it's not quite covering what I thought, but I'm still curious to see what they're going to do, how they're going to fit Batgirl into Batman's history and continuity now. Even though Batman supposedly was one of the ones that didn't change, seems like everybody around him did. So how all of Batman's characters fit into his story is going to be kind of an interesting thing to see. Speaking of that, we've got Batman #0. Now, there's like 5 Batman books, so I don't know which ones are going to tell which elements of his origin. But obviously, this is going to be. Oh, there's a Red Hood in here. This is going to be again early Batman filling in some gaps. I'm not sure what area this is covering. I know Detective, I think, covered like him traveling the world or something like that. This looks like it might be a little bit more Gotham central, and it looks like he's kind of building a Batcave or getting his equipment together. So yeah, all the DC books this month are going to be just filling in backstory. It's the 1-year anniversary of the New 52 this month. It was a year ago that it launched, and we were going over all of those books. So now we get what happened before that throughout all the DC books this month.
Now that Batman Zero also marks the first time that DC has done a blank white cover variant.
Oh, okay.
They got some blank white covers this week as well. So
cool.
Look for those if you're a guy who collects sketches at conventions, because this is the first time you get a DC. One of my regulars has been snapping up 0 hour zeros because it's white. It's all white. It's the closest thing he could get to a DC blank white cover variant. So they're finally doing the Batmans.
And these tie into their We Can Be Heroes thing too. There's some sort of fundraising.
And you'll be excited because there's a Green Lantern blank white cover variant for Zero coming up as well.
Excellent. I am the next one up. It's actually kind of the opposite of the going back in time. Captain America #17. Another common refrain you're going to hear is Marvel is kind of wrapping up the runs of some fantastic creators, and time to relaunch the book for Marvel now, and that's what's going on here. This is Ed Brubaker basically saying his goodbye to Captain America. It's continuing this storyline where you've got the guy who's trying to make Captain America look bad in the media, and Captain America kind of resuscitating his image, and it's good stuff. It's basically kind of high-tech terrorism, and definitely fits very much this vibe, the kind of a little bit more a superhero espionage vibe that he's been doing pretty much since his beginning. The next book heading towards its new ending is Fantastic Four. Hickman is wrapping up his storylines and some loose ends. If you remember, part of one of the characters in FF is the clone son of the Wizard.
Yes.
So this is going to be dealing with that. The Wizard comes back looking for his son. And this is going to be crossing over into FF, I believe. So yeah, just Hickman once again wrapping up his loose ends so that Matt Fraction can have kind of a nice new start on the book when it relaunches with Marvel. Next up, I've got Green Lantern the Animated Series #6. This is done by friends of the show, Art and Franco. This is again a tie into the animated series, which I liked quite a bit. These are great young audiences, done in one issues, kind of like old-fashioned Silver Age books. If you like Green Lantern, but you don't want to get involved in what's a fairly big, convoluted continuity, this is kind of the ideal book. You can just read this. You don't need to read anything else. You can watch the cartoon, which is a good cartoon, even though some people don't like the CG.
And they're doing all the color spectrum lanterns.
The red lanterns are in here. They've introduced blue lanterns. There's hints at the yellow lanterns. It's really it's almost kind of like Ultimate Green Lantern, but done for kids. But not like Tiny Titans was. This is actually a little bit more all ages. Kids can enjoy it, but it's actually, seriously, it reads like an old Silver Age comic for me.
Awesome.
Next up, Uncanny X-Men. This is continuing the Avengers vs. X-Men. It looks like we got the 2 remaining Phoenixes making out on the cover there. I don't know what's going on in this particular issue. Kieran Gillen's been doing a good job. Ron Garney's doing the artwork. We've got the 2 big guns, Cyclops and Emma Frost, and it looks like they're throwing down and maybe even getting it on. So yeah, Uncanny X-Men.
Imagine that's some powerful stuff with the Phoenix Force.
Next up, Winter Soldier. Ed Brubaker's been doing a great job on this book. This actually has more of the espionage than Captain America does. Again, Brubaker is coming to an end on this book. They're going to continue it because Winter Soldier is going to play a part in the next Captain America movie. But this is just sort of continuing and wrapping up Brubaker's loose ends. Yeah, this is just great artwork. Looks like we've got Hawkeye in here. The story that's been going so far has been one of the other sleeper agents, communist sleeper agents, has come awake, and he's kidnapped the Black Widow and brainwashed her, and he wants revenge on the Winter Soldier.
Okay.
Reasons I'm not entirely sure about, but in any event, he's a crazy Russian spy. He doesn't need a good reason. Next up, Wolverine versus X-Men. It's crossover into Avengers versus X-Men. It looks like we're getting back into dealing with the students, which has really been the best part of this book. We've got the big Phoenix Force people in here. I think in the last issue, they showed up at the mansion. So
that's taking place quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean,
back from the story that we're at.
It looks like here we've got Namor still has powers and he's still in the mix. All these AVX crossovers are not following the month-to-month of the regular book. They're kind of taking place at different times. And there's been some contradictions, but it's pretty good overall still. This is a great X-Men book. We've got Chris Bachalo back on artwork. It looks like we're going to be dealing with that young Hellfire Club, which was really a lot of fun. Really great book. This was, again, one of my favorite X books in quite a while.
Cool.
And that's my stack.
All right, well, that takes me to the top of my stack here. I'm looking at Harbinger #4 from Valiant Comics. I really like this book. I'm liking all that Valiant stuff, as I've said. This is written by Joshua Dysart. He's doing a great job, and I feel like he's really staying loyal and true to those original Harbinger books, but putting their own spin on it, making things a little different. And I dig it. I think it's awesome. As I mentioned, I got through that the Archer and Armstrong #2 last night. And part of that, there was a 4 or 5 page preview to Harbinger #4, and they introduced Zephyr in this issue. She's she was the heavier girl who she could fly, and she was the one that was into comic books. She's the one that thought they needed to have costumes and be a super team, and so I guess this issue is essentially going to introduce her, and also Pete's going to start to see what's going to go on, and I believe by the time they get through this arc, that's when Pete's going to leave the Harbinger Foundation. He's going to build his team of, I believe they're referring to them as renegades. So he's going to see himself as, a revolutionary fighting against the powers that be, that is Toyo Harada. But I love that they're going to include Zephyr in here, and she's going to make them a superhero team. Cool. So I'm excited about that. They already had her in that preview. She's got her own blog, and she's updating, and she's having flying dreams. Just a great way to update, that old story. And I love it. If you were a fan of the old Valiant stuff and you're not reading this stuff, I don't know what to tell you. You really should be. It's worth it. It's good.
My top pick is Avengers versus X-Men #11. This is an important book because this is the point where usually the event book falls apart. We've got 2 issues left, and this is it. This is the big climax. There's not a lot left. There's a lot of stuff that they have to get to. A lot of things to resolve, and this is going to give us some indication as to whether or not they're going to stick this landing. So far, I've been enjoying this series overall. Had some rough spots. I think some of the switching between writers didn't go as smoothly as it has on say, like, DC's 52. But overall, it's been really good. It's gone in directions I did not expect. This is really not the story that I thought it was going to be. And so right here, we've got Brian Michael Bendis. Let's see if he can kick off the ending to what has been, I think, probably, for me, the best Marvel event since Civil War.
Absolutely. And, I'm really enjoying it. I think it's fun. I was enjoying it through the first 4 issues, and then once they did the Phoenix 5 thing, I was full on board and really dug it.
It looked like it was just going to be a monthly fight between these two, and then all of a sudden it kicked into a story, and kicked into some kind of morality, and kicked into some big questions that I think these guys have done pretty well. But now they've posed a bunch of questions, they've got to give us some answers, and resolve things in a way that will allow them to launch all this new stuff coming out of Marvel now. So whether or not this book succeeds or fails really starts with this issue, I think. So yeah, that's why it's my top pick.
And someone's going to die soon, right? In the last issue?
Somebody always dies in one of these.
Fair enough. Well, with that, that is your Week in Geek.